This is 2OF Entertainment.
And here we are.
Yeah, good day to you.
And to you, Paul. And to you, it's. Yeah, I'm filling in for Stephen. So
filling in. I mean, that's you can't say that. You are you. We're good. We're good to go. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, we can kind of cut to the chase here a little bit.
Yeah.
Today we have a senior artist with us. I mean, senior in this, I guess the aspects of experience. Kathleen Slavin. I mean, she comes from a family of artists as well. I think she's got a brother that's a very good artist, and I think she's a landscape painter mostly. But we're going to talk to her a little bit about her influences, and it's like we all have, those catalysts that start us off, like in the day, or maybe once we've had a career, and you want to follow your later years all doing something you really love to do. And Kathleen is pretty much that type of an artist. You can see the love in her work. And I think I've known Kathleen for a number of years, and we've had a number of art shows together and different things as well over the years. And I guess I look at the prolific, the amount of work that someone can produce, in a short period of time. And I think,
is she putting you to shame then, Paul? Is that what you're trying to tell us?
I haven't picked a brush up for a week. Wrong kind of brush. I mean, that painting the wall brush, I think, for a while, but I think we all go through those domestics that we have to do and get things done. And once you get a few of those done, then you can move on to some other things. And I do enjoy these shows where I can talk to artists from coast to coast to coast.
Yeah.
And we do appreciate them taking their time to, share with us. But let's bring Kathleen in, and
There we go. Bring Kathleen in. Good afternoon. Good morning. I think it is for everybody.
Good morning. Yes, morning here.
Yes, morning.
Evening somewhere.
Afternoon for me. Well, Kathleen, please enjoy the show, and we'll be fascinated to see your art as the interview develops. Have a great show, guys.
Thanks, David. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, good morning, and I see we got you in your studio now, and it is packed. I can see it.
I thought about it and decided I should make that happen. So,
well, it's a comfort zone. I think.
Good. Well, it's absolutely my favorite place.
Yeah. No, and grateful that your loving husband has helped you get into that space, out from under his feet. I guess maybe more than anything he can.
Well, yes, that's true. The car went out in the cold because this is a renovated garage that I'm in. This is where the car used to live.
Yeah. Well, there's priorities, and I think it's a great a change of venue, like for your car. Car can sit outside for a little bit.
It managed this.
Yeah. Well, but he's probably more influences as well. He's a master gardener, and I think we can see some of the things that he's done, and we'll talk about some of those things that I guess would you say the garden is a big influence for you? Is that?
Well, I have a number of muses, but certainly at this time of the year when the garden is beautiful, I do capture some. I do quite a few florals every year, actually, but I jump around in terms of subject.
Well, we'll talk about that.
Sometimes I'm up north. Sometimes I don't know. The other day I was with a friend watching fish swim around and taking pictures of those. So, it could be anything that inspires me at the time. And I usually do series. And so once I have an inspiration, I follow that along for a while and, see where it goes.
Yeah. So you can jump around from, I guess that comes about from some of your road trips.
Oh, yes.
Where
I can do highways and car mirrors, and I can do figures. I don't do a lot of figures, but I have in the past done them. That could come back again. I might get around. I do a lot of skies, vistas, Prairie, and also Ontario, because I'm visit Ontario every year, usually at Thanksgiving, because I have a very big family, and it's a good time to see them because then we can all be outside.
That's a big road trip, and then
we don't always drive, but we have driven many times.
Yeah,
we fly more often lately.
Yeah, it's a grueling drive, especially if you have a deadline at the other end that you got to be somewhere. It's nice when you can just kind of stop when you want to stop, and you've got an extra few days at either end where you can move about.
Last fall we drove to the Maritimes, so that was a big one. Mm-hmm.
That is a beautiful trip though too.
A beautiful trip. It was a beautiful trip.
Get to experience an awful lot of things when you actually can go out and do those. But I'm going to get David to start up our images here, and we'll show some of the things that you're working on. Here we go.
Yeah, so that one, Paul, actually is one that's inspired by one of my favorite places in the world. And as you know, I do travel, but this is the North Shore of Lake Superior. And so that's a very sort of last light of the day over Lake Superior. And, because we are trying to get somewhere, I paint in the field much less than what I used to. I just take a lot of photos, but I am not bound to them in any way. I sometimes, I do sketches from them on Procreate, and I change the world as I prefer.
Well, I think that's the artist's privilege to be able to do that, to make those. That's what you should be doing, I think. But working from your own photos is also, rather than working from somebody else's photos, is still part of your vision. It's part of it's part of you, right? How you see things. And
I'm usually seeing that from a moving vehicle. Most of my photos are blurry, so it can only go so far with.
Holy smokes! I got my volume turned up. Sorry. I think traveling.
They're mine.
Sitting in the passenger seat though is an advantage a little bit. I mean, you can sketch if you want, and
I always have a sketchbook with me. I do sketch too, but depends where I am.
Yeah, I can't do that sketch and drive thing.
No, well, that's the thing. You see, my husband loves to drive, and I hate to drive, so that works out pretty well. I can sketch in the car, and I have done that a lot over the years.
Yeah, wow. Yeah, I wish I could do that, but while you're driving, you can't sketch too much. It just kind of.
That's true.
They don't like that. But it's a nice advantage to have. You have to catch your moments very quickly.
Yes.
But if you've traveled the road once or twice before, you kind of know where the magic spots are.
Actually, that's very correct. Actually, there's certain on the way to. In Northern Ontario, there's a beautiful park that we often stop in. It's Puckasquaw National Park, and there's a lovely walk that's become a little more precarious in the last few years to me, but that goes above the shoreline of Lake Superior up there on the rocks, and it's a beautiful place. Actually, the group of 7 painted in that area, and I can see why. And so we often stop there for part of the day and do a bit of a hike.
Yeah, no, it's nice. And you've got to take those breathers. I mean, those are so refreshing to your work when you come back into the studio, those remembrances of that. It's sort of like, it's a big get out, you have to, it's nice to get out from your studio to go for a walk around the block and do a few things, but very different when you take those epic trips. that, and you've had a few. I mean, you've
Oh,
tried.
we've traveled quite a bit.
Yeah. So this was a little bit of a change when I've seen your work.
And I'll tell you a few things about this, Paul.
Yeah.
One is that the image is kind of interesting because it looks like it could be prairies. In fact, a friend shared a video with me of the Mars landing a few years ago, and I was fascinated by the images, and I took a lot of screenshots going through that video, and this came out of one of those. So it doesn't matter, but in fact, it's Mars, and I've not been there, but that was the inspiration. The other thing is that around the same time, I did a class with Craig Berry in Saskatoon, who's a very good teacher, and he's a classically trained artist. And so I did 3 classes with him over time. And the first one was actually just to kind of learn a bit about classical painting techniques. I do work in oils mostly these days, not I also still work in acrylic and watercolor somewhat. But anyway, so I learned that. And then I did another 2 times with him learning to use the Procreate program just as a tool. So it was another tool it was a digital tool for traditional artists. And so, those things have influenced my art quite a bit since then. And anyway, so this one is it's called Rarefied. So that refers to the air and the look in the place. So
it's got a beautiful light. I mean,
thank you.
It's minimalist painting, really, in the aspects of it, until you get into the detail in the sky a little bit. But Craig is he's a master oil painter. Sky, he's from the old world. He likes to paint the Rembrandt style of.
He does beautiful work. Well, actually, he's doing beautiful work digitally quite a bit nowadays, and that's a whole other thing. You'd never know that they were done digitally. So
well, I in some way I like that. In some way, I still. I like to smell and feel and the oils, and to know that.
Yeah, I'm absolutely not going in that direction in a major way. I use it as a tool. So like if I've put in a day in the studio and am struggling with a painting, I can take a picture of it at the end of the day. And while, someone's watching baseball in my house or something, I can work on my computer and try things out, so you're not making all those messes on your canvas that you have to deal with later. So it's very good. It's good.
Messes are fine. It's just when you work in oil, you have to wait for the thing to dry. And
Paul, the mediums maybe have changed since you worked with, and they've gotten quite.
I know, but it's still you can't just layer. At some point, there's still even a drying period time. I realize there's lots of drying agents that you can put in with them, but they do still affect the work, the look of the work, the drying agents. But it's up to the artist as to where you want to go. Like I love oils. I paint in oils, and I realize there's a patience level that I have to wait for things to dry.
Well, I paint in series, Paul. So I'm usually working on more than one painting at one time.
There you go. Yeah. So
that's how I do that.
Yeah.
So this one's a little more down home, because this is called Southward, and obviously these geese are heading off south. And this was actually, I've painted other birds, but they're usually sitting on the ground, and so this was actually my first painting of birds in the air. And it was when I showed this painting the first time, some viewer told me a couple things I didn't know. One, he told me that they were snow geese. I mean, I recognize snow geese, white ones, when they're on the ground, but I didn't recognize them in the air. And he also said that when they take off to fly, they do that swirling motion that you see happening on the one side and then scoot off to where they're going. So anyway, so yeah.
I guess they get their elevation straight up.
Yeah.
They keep going round and round and then take off.
Guess that's it. Eh? And then the other thing about doing this kind of bird painting is that you only need the smallest bit of information, bird information on maybe a bird or two, and you don't need it anywhere else. And if you try and paint every single bird, you'd go crazy. It wouldn't work anyway, you know. So,
if anybody's ever seen a field of snow geese, it's massive, and there's no way there's a runway for them to take off. That's why they kind of have to fly straight up, so then they can take off, because when they land in the fall, they're in packs, like there are thousands of them in one spot.
And I just learned, Paul, that there's blue snow geese. Did you know that?
No, I didn't.
Oh, well, I just learned it from a person who lived on the prairies who saw this picture at a show, and we had a chat.
So is there actually a blue tone in them?
They're quite blue when you he showed me a picture of one. Yeah, you should Google it.
Sort of like a blue-white, like you know.
Yeah, I mean, if they were in the sky, I don't know what you'd see, but I'll have to watch for that. They sometimes, I think, I won't say I don't have that much bird information, but I think he said that they do sometimes fly with the white ones too. So anyway.
Yeah. Well, the Canada's mixed with them as well, but normally they kind of stay together. They're in their own groups, and I guess families, I guess is what we call it when they're migrating.
Yeah.
I put this one in because.
Yes, you did. Yes.
Yeah, it's one that you didn't use this one. I went in and said, we've got.
Where'd that come from? I didn't. Yeah, no, that's great, Paul. Yeah. That painting, it's winter. It's our fine river in Saskatchewan. We have a whole bunch of bridges. This is an old bridge, which is this is the new version of the old bridge, but it's metal. And anyway, and I actually took the photo reference for this from an upstairs window in our new art gallery in Saskatoon. It's a lovely place to look at the river from and get some shots from above. So, yeah. So why did you put it in?
I'm supposed to ask the questions, but that's okay.
That's okay.
No, I think I love the minimalist palette. I mean, you're really working with ochre and blacks, and basically, it still has warmth, and it looks like an evening scene, like it's coming on maybe 4 or 5 o'clock in the afternoon, in the wintertime. But I think it's not everything has to be full color. Not everything has to be a full palette. This is a strong painting. It's all held together very nicely. I mean, and though the iron bridge is there, it takes a while to see the difference between that and the freeway bridge that's behind it.
Bridge actually, that looking this way, that would be the Broadway bridge.
That's the Broadway bridge, okay, which is now closed down for repairs. It's just good thing we get multiple bridges.
Locals, yeah.
Yeah, good thing we have multiple bridges, because it's one of those things trying to get across the river. But it's nice to depict some of the local things. A lot of artists think that this could be Paris if you look at this. So there's a universality to some of this when you have minimal amounts of detail, yet it has the energy of the streetlights and people standing outside. And it could be the Seine River, it could be a lot of different things. You don't know, right? So that's what I like about a piece of work. Then people can look at it and they can say, well, I can see almost being at home with that, or that's someplace else from somewhere else.
And again, you can't to try and put every detail of that bridge in. I mean, forget it. Last year, I did a big commission, like 30 inches by 60 inches. It was an oil paint, and the only directions I was given that they wanted the river and Broadway Bridge, something Broadway Bridge in it. Anyway, and so it was huge. So that too was a winter scene. I went down in the morning, for sun up and watched the sun rise on the bridge. And it was cold. I had to, mitts to plug in to warm my hands up between photos. But yeah, there's a lot to painting the river and the bridge here. You could really make a life as a painter doing it. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. And I think,
only 16 by 20, but this other one I did was a very big one. It's hanging in a public place, in a corporate office. So anyway, yeah.
They're beautiful. It's a nice touch. I put it in also so it prefaced this winter shots. We have at least two winter paintings in the show.
Yeah.
What is this one from?
Well, this actually is from the painted in the north, and I don't have some of these paintings. Some I do, but this one is called "The Footprints We Leave Behind," and it's 48 by 24. So it's painted in acrylic. Now I put underneath, before I put anything on the any of the trees, I put a monotype. Paul, you'll probably correct me on my term, but a monotype on the canvas. What I did is and I've done this a few times in pictures, is I put a bunch of black, in this case I'd used black gesso on a board, an old board, and then I laid down sheets of like saran wrap, like plastic wrap on it, and picked up and rolled the back a bit and picked up what it saw and put it on this big canvas. It's very messy business, this artist. Anyway, and then of course you cover a lot of it, most of it, but it's nice there's a nice texture in this when you've got the light and the dark of the snow and the bits that are melting and right. Anyway, yeah. So that and then of course the boreal forest here it's been a muse for a long time. Hopefully a long time yet, although we're just losing a lot of it to fire at the moment. So the forest is on my mind, and I'm not in the forest because we're evacuated at the moment. So
your cottage is not too far from the fires that are on right now. As a
matter of fact, as of yesterday, the fire was less than 1 kilometer
away from your property. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
fighting it. My God, they're fighting it. It's just anyway. But anyway, so is that it about this one? Is there anything else you want to know?
Well, it's just the light and the warmth that can happen in a winter picture. Everything doesn't have to be blue and whites and grays.
Yeah.
When you bring a light that comes in from the top of the forest, it changes that feeling, and it's still cold, but it's interesting to see how you brought the textures in, though, from the transferring of imagery with using saran wrap, or some plastic you can use as well for monotype or those kind of things. So I think using all those different, I guess, devices, because with a monotype you can paint and draw and do a bunch of things on a piece of acrylic. Decide how you like it to look, wipe things out, put things in, and say, okay, I like it now. Then transfer that image to your final canvas. That's what it's going to be on, or board, or whatever.
Oh, well, yeah.
Work it up. I mean,
that's an awful lot that I don't know about printing, and I know you know lots about it. But but the little bits that I do, I just use little bits of it, sort of. Pretty much kindergarten level, I guess. But I actually used that in a huge picture within the last couple of years. I've taken a bunch of photos when I was leaving Toronto on a plane. And, in Ontario is about family for me. So it was just called Leaving. And it was sort of some of the lake and the cityscape, from the window. And I just started out almost laying it in on using this same method that I told you about with it. Somewhere in my life, I got this huge roll of plastic wrap, and I have no idea where I got it from. It must have come from yard sale or something. Anyway, and so I can use it. And anyway, doesn't feel too wasteful because it's been around for many years.
Yeah, and it's nice to have nice tools, though.
Yeah.
If it was small saran wrap, then that's a whole other issue, right? But a large piece of plastic gives you a great opportunity.
Well, that would be, I should try that.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, so this just is put into, because we said I've traveled, and I collect a lot of images when I travel, but this one came about after I had been in India, and so I did a fairly large series at that time of paintings after I'd been there, and I really enjoyed the fabrics that the saris as they moved around. I just felt like I never saw enough of them. But so this kind of is based on that, but it's also quite abstract, and it speaks to the market, and yeah.
So do you paint when you come home after a major trip fairly quickly after your trip, or does it take a while for that to find the idea that you're going to paint? And you paint in a series, you said. So does it take a little while for you to
orientate? When you come back, yeah. I mean, I start by throwing out a whole lot of photos usually, and just keeping the ones that speak to me, bits of the experience that I might want, and I guess it varies. It depends where I have a block of time to start a new project. One of our early trips, we did a 12-session Spanish language class, and drove to Mexico and stayed in Mexico for 3 months and drove around. And I actually painted during that trip in watercolor. I painted on the street. I did paint. And then when I came back, actually, I had the opportunity to do a residency at Emma Lake. Emma Lake is was an art camp that is quite famous, Emma Lake Kenderdine Campus. And so that, it was a nice advantage for me at that time. There was almost nobody there. And so it was a huge studio for the artists to paint in. And so I started a whole big series of large paintings in that day from that experience. So, yeah.
No, it's good to have those retreats that you can do that. And
we're very much miss not having that here.
Well, we look at your studio and it's fairly full, and there is room, but you gotta plan your space.
I don't paint a lot of really large canvases anymore, because it's just No, this one it's not huge at all. It's 24 by 36, so it's that size. This one I just put in partly for fun. This is called Going to the City. I find, images it's got images of the city at night, and it's got the reflection mirror study in it. And I actually painted night highway paintings several times. So I like that. I like reflections. And then this is oil. I actually won a prize. I mean, I don't enter things, and so not surprisingly, I don't win prizes. But I had this one in the Man Gala Winter Festival Gala show in actually just last winter, and I won. I won third place, sponsored by the Prince Albert Art Sport.
Well, there you go.
I was pretty happy about that. But anyway, there we go.
Well, it shows that people are looking at things, and you're looking at the world in different ways, right? In a reflective manner. It's reverse of where you're going, where you're coming from. So it has a lot of meaning. So I think a lot of that probably came into the adjudication.
And I painted a lot of water, Paul, which is also to do with reflections over and under, and that's interested me.
Yeah. So was there a series in this one as well?
Yes. Most of the other ones that I painted were quite small, and I have to say I think I won. I probably have a couple left. I have one I did in watercolor, and and a small one, and yeah.
Well, they take a while to sell, and if that's that, is the aim, and that's one thing. But a lot of times, it's just getting those ideas out of your mind. Like I feel like sometimes my mind is like a storage bin. It's full of ideas, and at some point, you want to start getting them out onto paper, canvas, whatever. Just put the idea tangibly in place, and it's nice. That's why it's nice to see a show when you go to places. You can see how the artist is thinking, and how they see the world a little bit, because the mirror, you see yourself. Everybody looks in the mirror when they're driving, so you see it. But a lot of people, they look at it a different way, right? It's probably more for safety reasons. Where if you're sitting in
as I'm the passenger, as
Yeah.
I can enjoy watching the world go by from two areas, and I've done lots of snapping. One day I'll drop my phone out the window, but anyway, I do.
Don't do that. Yeah,
Snap
put
a few pictures as we go.
string on your wrist around the phone.
Well, so far I'm okay. So
did you get to the exhibition this year?
I was there last night. Yep.
Last night you were. Wow, it's on right now for a week. Okay, I missed it this year. I used to love to go there and just hear the hiss, boom, bang of the machines and the noise and the clutter, and then it's nice to get out of there. But there's kind of that carny edge about things that is kind of, it's a little, I don't know what it is. I painted a series or did mostly drawings, early years of it. It's fun to do. They're fun to do. It's a high energy, lots of stuff, people.
A year before last, I guess, I collected the images that I painted this one from. This is 30 inches by 24 wide, and it's oil. Wait a minute. It's oil and oil stick. That's another medium I'm not sure I like, but occasionally I have used it and it turned it all right in this. So this is kind of, a collage of the world of what was going on that night. And I called it Pilgrimage for the Brass Ring, because there's always, I don't know, I thought everybody knew about people riding on merry-go-rounds and trying to grab the brass ring, but of course nobody does it anymore because it was really unsafe, probably. Anyway, but and then if you got the brass ring, you'd get a prize. So anyway, that's why I called it. And then just the movement of the crowds and I probably made the night darker than it was, but movement of the crowds through the lights in the dark. And it reminds me of, some of the, places that I've been when I was traveling, when there were pilgrimages passing through the town or whatever. And these hundreds of people would be all going somewhere in one direction. And so anyway, it's said all that to me. So it's fun. So I don't know what I'll do. Last night I did a lot of just shots, and this is just on my phone, fast stuff. I'm not a photographer. And then I also made a few short videos. So sometimes that's a good way to capture the energy at the fair. So anyway. Yep.
Well, with the video, you pick up the sound, so that's something.
Yes, you do. That's right. So that's another part of the memory, isn't it?
Yeah, the sound, the smells, the hot dogs and the different things that are going through the air. Yeah.
Yep. And this one I put in because I've talked about Ontario and Ontario Fall, and you find some number of pictures usually inspired by that. Every year in my work. This is called Falling Leaves Red, and it's actually 48 inches tall and 24 wide. So it's about the biggest that I'm painting these days, mostly. And it's acrylic. So I've got my acrylics out before they all dry up, and did some work with those. And I wanted the idea of the leaves falling, like in motion. So I cut out I made some hand-cut stencils. I just found some pictures or took some things from a photo, pictures of different leaves, and I just cut them out on scrap cardboard that was there was a cardstock that was around my studio. And then I put them on top of the underpainting and kind of scrape them on thickly with a palette knife. So that's just another way of working. And I occasionally I don't really in my work care for the commercial stencils, but if I'm painting some tree that has 30,000 of the same blossom on it, I may make a stencil of a portion of blossoms, and then you can use it backwards and you can use it frontwards and use it upside down and kind of scrape it. Yeah. So I use it somewhat.
I think being open to devices is fine. Some people, I won't say, but a lot of artists, if you've just been painting all your life and you haven't experienced some of those other things or taken a chance to pick up a palette knife, do something in a different manner, you lose out on some of the things that you could discover on your own that you'd love to do. So, but it's nice to see these ones, because in Saskatchewan, we don't get those deep reds that we get down east. It's the maples, that turn. We don't have a lot of maples.
Yeah, it is. That sugar maple has a beautiful, and the oaks actually are a different dark red.
No, it's
it is nice. So good reason to go then. This is called Wayaquan Rebirth, and it was a big event in 2015 that we had a big forest fire in Saskatchewan, and now of course we're having one that's much bigger. And so after that 2015 fire, I painted in the north a lot in those days, and I painted up there a lot. We paddled around the lake, and Graham paddled, and I took pictures, and we'd stop and I'd paint, And so as soon as we could get back on the lake and get back to the cabin, we started going around the lake and watching the rebirth. Because the first paintings I did after the fire are beautiful in their own way, because it was bleak. The undergrowth was all burnt, and the trees were blackened, but it was quite beautiful. Even the fire jumped down to them and burnt the moss off the rocks right at the lake level, and interesting colors come out of that. But then by the time I was doing this one, a couple of years after the fire, things were coming back. And not the same things come back, but life was coming back. And so it was, there was certainly a beauty in all that then too. So this is quite a large painting, actually. It's 36 by 48.
Yeah, that's a big painting, and it's very well handled. I love the light in it. I've always liked this piece of work of yours.
So, Paul, why has nobody ever bought it? I still own it.
No, I just think, don't
you know? Can't you tell me? Never mind, I'm teasing. Of course, you can't tell me. I know it's a crapshoot, as one of my friends says.
Well, it's funny. You do a painting, and you think, man, this is going to fly off the shelf. I love it so much. It sits there.
Yeah,
until the right person comes along. Yet you got one that you just knocked it off. Oh, if it sells, it sells. And darn thing, it sells before you know it. Like, it's quicker than the other one.
Never know. I know. That's right.
You never know what the market and what people, but it's really important, to have that story that we just talked about, of this piece of work that goes along with that piece of work, so people can understand. So a lot of times those pieces of work, people need to enfranchise themselves with it. They need to take part and say, I understand what forest fires are about. I love Wayaquan. I love just to look at water. This could be Ontario. This could be anywhere. This is a universal painting. So it's just the love of the forest and the water. And at a certain point, the presentation has to be in the right spot, at the right time, for the right person.
Well, and it's really not all about the selling either, Paul. I had this painting in a show this year, and it was a health collective that all these different therapists and of various types have a floor and building, and they've set aside a room in the middle for artists to show art, because they believe that that art is very healing. And And so I very much enjoyed doing that, although it wasn't in an obvious place for people to wander through. But anyway, the people enjoyed it, the staff enjoyed it, and I had this painting up there, and I had a lot of comments on it, and people did find.
So do you do that a fair amount? Is show your work in offices and buildings and things? Is that what you do with some
I
of your
wouldn't
work?
say I do it a fair amount, but it happened to be the place where I go for a massage therapy. And so I had talked to them about this. I knew they did that. So I said, well, I could do that. So so I hauled 25 paintings up there, and a couple of people helped me put them up, and they were appreciated, and they had it up for 3 months. So, I mean, it was because I've been in commercial galleries, and I'm in one here now, and then I also I show at the Craft Council, and they're all everybody's doing their part. But it used to be I'd send all these pictures would be in a gallery, and they'd be the galleries can't show them all every day. And so, they're in the storage, and they come out for shows. And that's, I really respected what they did. And I would love to not have to market my own work. And I'm not all that good at it. Although I am doing 4 shows this year. And so one show is with a group that I'm with. We did that. That was done. That was in the spring. And then I did the one that I just was talking about. And then now we have Art in the Garden coming up in a couple of weeks. And I think we're going to talk about that a bit. And then one more at the end of the year in November and December, just with one other artist. So it's a bit too much this year, but that's
Yeah, we sometimes bite off more than we can chew sometimes.
Yeah,
I think, though, staying active is important. I think artists we have inventory, but is everything fresh and new and wet? No. And I don't think you should have to expect artists to say, what is the new thing this week? It's like, you know what? There's not very many new Degas or Manet or Monet paintings around. You're buying what they did half a century ago. So it's like the same thing goes with you. What's wrong with the piece of work you did 30 years ago?
Well,
and it just takes a long time to find the right person.
Yeah. Well, some of those just, I did a big show a few years ago, and I had it was a thing I wanted to do. It was from an ancient place that I had visited in Europe. And, I had a bunch of paintings matted and framed. Well, now I'm opening up those frames and taking those paintings out, and there's going to be something else and other things go in there because, the paintings exist. I can show them to people. But
well, when you paint other locations, a lot of people regionally and locally don't understand it. They've never been there. They would be buying it for a different reason. Maybe, I don't know. I think it's important that the artists paint what they like to paint. And I think that's where you start. And it's a little bit of a pig in a poke whether they're going to be the right person to buy it or not. But, if you don't expand your audience's knowledge a little bit about other parts of the world, and if they like your work, they say, well, maybe I'll collect even as a start with a small piece and move up to the bigger ones. It's great.
I did sell some from that show, but, they weren't all going to sell. And they were fairly different for me. They were just, it was watercolor and ink, and of course minimal palette, as I often use minimal palettes, and people found them interesting.
So this one was inspired by Graham's garden.
Well, absolutely. This is actually, this painting hangs in my daughter's house because she came by and said, if you don't sell that painting, I want it anyway. So I gave it to her. So that's a small painting. It's only 8 by 8. So sometimes I do paint some small, and it's called Echinacea, of course. Anyway, and so really, this is I'm, as you say, as you know, and no, I'm not lying. I am not the gardener, and the gardener here is Graham, my husband. So but I do love the garden and appreciate the garden, and I paint pictures of it sometimes.
Yeah,
So,
it's a
anyways.
great opportunity.
Oh, yes.
I'd love to go sit in there for a week and just.
I wish you would. There were two painters sitting in my garden just yesterday, and this group I belong to in the summer, when we're not meeting as a group, we actually meet in different people's gardens.
Right.
And they've all been to my garden too. So
Yeah. No. So this is the show that you got coming up.
that is the show. Yeah, it is. So this is Art in the Garden has been going on since about 2002, and there's kind of a core group, and Paul and I have both been part of that for a long time. Paul not now, but I'm still there. Anyway, and there's kind of a core group. Well, really nowadays mostly two of us, and then we have guest artists. So we've had a variety of other artists with us. So this time we have 5 artists. One is a very abstract art. It's all different anyway. But this has become a very well known show. And we were doing it every 2 years for a long time. Now we decided we should do it every year, not knowing how many more years we're going to feel like doing this. Anyway, and we usually have 300 people through over 2 days. Yeah. And it is in the garden. It's in the garden.
Rain or shine.
Window today. Yes, it's not always in my garden, but it sort of goes between this house and one of the other artists' houses that is quite totally. Our garden's wild and crazy, and the other one has calm and has a pool, and it's kind of little Japanese in influence. And anyways, but the art looks lovely in the garden. Yeah. So we put it out there for 2 days, and usually it doesn't rain. And if it does, well, we have to, some stuff can take a little rain and some stuff can't. So we've got. Yeah.
Well, it's typical when you're showing outside. There is a 50% chance, wind, rain. Like there's always something. And a lot of them
very lucky, actually. So,
well, picking the right time of year helps a little bit. August is usually fairly warm, and it's maybe this is it. And that's part of it, is choosing the right time of year for events, but not to be afraid to show work. I know a lot of artists have shows in studio by invitation. Yeah, and it's nice to have an open show. I mean, it's a very personal thing, like to let people know where you live, it's one of those things. Do you want that, or do you want your privacy, that you don't want, people knocking on your door like that later on? But I think, just access to art galleries is less for a lot of artists. There's more artists than there are art galleries. And I think general public, some of them are a little tight about trying to get to an art gallery. They feel they're going to be approached and forced into buying something they don't want, or do those things. So it's a really nice, relaxing way for them to come in, and you give them a cup of juice or Kool-Aid or whatever, and maybe a cookie, and they can walk around and ask the artists who are usually there about their work. And quite often those people that come eventually, if they come over the years, will buy a piece, and they love being invited to these things. I mean, they just really do. But,
there's lots of people that come back. I send out to. I have a really big list that we've developed that I send out to through email, and we do a small amount of promotion on the web, and hang up a few posters in critical places. That is the garden outside my back windows here, and it's several years ago, but anyway, it just gives you an idea.
I think it's important for artists, though, to understand. They say, "Oh, it wasn't very successful, or things didn't happen." I said, "Well, while they're doing these things, make sure you gather email lists and your contact and maintain that, because that is your future buyers, because a lot of times a buyer may come but bring a friend. And it's sort of an introductory for that person who's coming along. They're not quite ready to buy, but if they feel confident and they meet the artist and they like their work, and maybe because a lot of times art purchases, especially locally, are disposable income. How much money do I have in my wallet? Access to money coming next week from mom or whatever, where the money comes from.
Yeah.
And they say, well, when I get I know her work is around this range of dollars, maybe I can afford it. But they feel they can buy a $50,000 car, if you can buy one for that now. And they figure out how they can buy that, but they figure out, they get lost when they figure out, how can I buy a $2,000 painting? And they feel like it's like this evil thing that they really can't buy themselves something precious for themselves that they really love, yet they'll spend the money on a very expensive vehicle and justify it that it'll basically rot and rust away within 5 years and walk away from it. So
I should be painting on the outside of cars.
Most artists will take payments. I know that they'll or multiple ways of paying for the work. I mean, we shouldn't have to be the bank, but a lot of times that's how you start people off. You say, well, I've got so many $100, and well, figure out how they're gonna, do the deal. Because I think artists need to figure that out, and I think you can understand very quickly when you talk to somebody that where they are on that page, because these are about not just show, these are sales. And usually when you buy locally like this, you support the economy of that artist. And they go and what do they go and buy? More paint. They buy more.
That's the truth. Yeah, that's the truth. We're not.
We can't store everything because
that's the thing.
We're all at
we
that
have
point.
to figure out.
Yeah, but I've been in Graham's garden. It's an amazing experience. And he's quite knowledgeable about.
Yeah, like we have a mixed garden. We have vegetable garden. We being not me. We have we're eating all our vegetables now, and we've already, picked our cherries, and we've got berries, and the lawn is the least interesting part. The flower beds are nice, and Graham ends up with a lot of women in the garden giving him compliments, so that keeps him making the garden.
Build his ego. He builds his ego up with that. He loves that. But.
Well, it should, because he does know a lot.
Well, it's a different experience than if you were.
One of his art forms. He also builds all the wooden furniture that you see in our garden, and he doesn't sell any, so that's up to him. But people do ask. Can't hurt.
Well, he's a very meticulous builder, and you build what you love and keep and retain, and maybe later on it goes to family and those things. So it's not a thing that you build to sell. You're not mass producing something.
That's true. I know you do those things too, Paul.
Pretty much like that's his art for now, and
it is in the summer it's the garden, and in the winter he's now doing woodworking.
Yeah. Well, it's a great thing.
And I'm in the studio all year round.
Well, that's great that you're able to share this with us today. And I think.
Well, thanks for inviting me. Yeah, it's been fun.
We'll bring David in here when he has a moment. And
okay. All right.
I haven't seen David yet, but there he is.
Oh, yeah, still here. Yeah.
Hi, David.
Hello. Yeah.
You stayed awake. All right.
Yeah. Well, it's strange because I have the wonderful opportunity to look at art that I would never ever see in my life. So I'm grateful to you as the artist for showing us your work today. I'm grateful to Paul who keeps bringing these amazing artists to us. But the most important thing today is if I wanted to buy a piece of your art, how much would I have to pay? As a guesstimate. Well,
basically, I do charge by size, and so if if you want a really small painting and, you don't have, and that's what you want, you can get a really small painting for $150. And if you want to buy a big painting, then you're going to pay $2,000 or $3,000. Yeah.
Okay.
So there's a lot of range in between, So
Yeah, of course. But it's
yeah, I paid a lot more in the, 300, 400, 500 a range, frankly, these days, just because that seems to be what I'm doing.
I think Paul touched on it as well, that people just don't like to ask. So I think it's always really important at the end of the show, after we've seen all the art, and
that's right.
People got really excited to say, "Oh, okay, well, maybe
Well, then if you want, and then if people are looking for commissions, which I don't do many of because I just haven't wanted to do that, so I'm fussy about what I would do. Then you pay more for commission, because if the buyer wants a bunch of input, then they have to pay for my time.
I think I encourage people to look at Kathleen's website, and it's posted on the site here.
Yes, it is.
You can see a lot of the work that she's working on, and maybe some new works that she'll post as the year goes along. I think that I enjoyed our conversation. It was good. I've seen your work for years, and I've enjoyed it, and I go, this is just a nice opportunity to talk about it. And usually when I see you, there's other people around all the time, and so it's having a nice conversation. And thanks, David, for hosting this one.
Once again, thank you, and thank you, Kathleen. And any questions, of course, you can put in the comments below, and we'll pass them straight on to Paul or to Kathleen directly. Don't forget to like and subscribe. It helps us, it helps this channel, it helps Paul, it helps the artists, and let's be proactive. That's all we can say.
Well, everybody enjoy their day. I appreciate it very much.
Yeah.
Okay.
Nice, gray, cool day with a little bit of rain today. So we love rain in Saskatchewan at the moment.
If only we could position where we want it exactly.
Right. It's not hitting in the right places, but
problem.
Okay.
Thank you, everyone, and till the next time on Canadian Art Today.
Thank you.